We up.
We're back.
I mean, I feel like we've been pretty consistent. I don't know. I don't even know if we need to say we're back.
I mean, we're back on here. I mean, we weren't here a second ago, so
I'm here everywhere.
no, you're not.
I'm in the matrix. I'm
Definitely
all
not. Definitely
everything's.
not. You are a hairball in the toilet pipe.
That's rough.
I know.
That may be worse than Connor from Assassin's Creed 3. I'm not sure.
No, I've said worse things.
But they didn't hurt as much.
Time to step up my game.
I guess. What are we
Uh,
talking about?
we're talking about Velma.
Velma. Yeah, HBO Max show. The show that
I,
everybody hates.
and it's so funny. I don't understand the backlash. Like, and maybe some of the people out there can explain. And I don't feel like it's the worst show on television. I mean, I could name a bunch of other things that are worse than this.
Hmm.
Personally, I liked it.
Yeah.
Once I got past, uh, I want to say, I don't know. Let's start with this. If you're here to the channel, I'm Leroy. That's Michael. We trying. So right now we're gonna try to dissect and review Velma season one. And if you hate it, guess what? You got a whole nother season to hate because it got renewed for season two.
So the last thing I saw was that was a report. Has it been confirmed that it's got a season 2?
Yep.
Okay, got it. I'll say this. I think the show was okay. I don't know. I still haven't decided on whether I like it or not. I don't hate it, but I'm just kind of like, it was fine. Um, and I think we'll get into this as we talk about it. But it's definitely. I wonder how many people knew what they were getting into when they based on who was kind of spearheading the show, Mindy Kaling, because this is similar to a lot of her other projects. So it's not. So if you know who she is, it shouldn't come as a surprise to what she got.
Correct. Um, I Here's the thing. I wasn't all that like when the show was announced. I was like, okay, cool, it's interesting. I thought the people involved. I liked the cast. I thought the people behind it. I was like willing to give it a shot. I watched the first episode, the first two episodes, two or three, I don't know. And I'm trying to remember how I watched it and whether I was drinking or not. Because it was late at night. I know I was.
Okay.
What?
I don't, just the way you said that, whether I was drinking or not, it's like, you don't know?
Because it does affect how you. Because I was cleaning and I can't remember like I was doing laundry, I was vacuuming, and it was late at night. So I was like, did I have a few beers while I was cleaning? Because I knew I was washing dishes and it was on in the background. So I was
Hmm.
like watching it and then like coming back to it, watching it. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I need to sit down and watch it. And then I didn't get back to it because I was going to restart. And then I didn't get back to it. And then all this controversy happened. Like all this internet hate came for it. And I was like, I don't remember it being terrible what I saw. Like, what? And that's what I was like I looked down at my hand. I was like, was I drinking? And I don't remember. Like what?
Hmm.
Like I don't remember. I don't remember it deserving all this hate. And so I watched it. I went back. I watched the first couple of episodes. I was like, okay, I see where they're going. And then I watched the whole thing, and I was like, huh. I was like, okay, I get it. And I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I just thought it was okay. And it was according to IGN. I'm reading this on their article. Season two is in development. Uh, it is according to it has a critically low 42% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
As of right now, or from the IGN
Uh,
article
from the
when?
IGN article, I'm gonna go back because I have it pulled up. And the last part of this article came out a week ago on IGN. It says, despite all that, you can't argue the numbers. According to Deadline, it was HBO Max's most watched animated series debut ever. So a second season wouldn't be a huge shock, even for the backlash. And
So maybe people were hate watching it?
see, that's my question. Like, for all the hate that it got, And it's like, okay, were people, is this hate a loud minority, or were people hate watching it? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot wrong with the show. I'm not going to say that the show is perfect. I'm not going to say that. But I also think context and nuance is something that's missing from this discussion. And I feel like that's where we need to get into it.
Okay. So you want to get into spoilers?
No, I want to hear you. Like, for you, what did you think? What did you like? What you did? Like, like, give just an overview before we hit them with the orange.
I mean, for me, I think it was interesting and a unique idea to have so many different minority characters in the roles of the essentially mystery gang. I think that was
Hmm.
cool. I like that. One thing I didn't like, and I felt like it was kind of heavy handed, is that I feel like Mindy Kaling has done better at being like once you hit the subject, kind of moving on and being more deft with it. But I have a deft, 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 right?
Hmm.
I feel like I'm saying it wrong, but whatever. Just a subtler touch. I
Okay.
felt like a lot of times we kept hitting on the same thing over and over again in every single episode. And I'm like, is the joke that there's going to be growth? Because I don't feel like the main character Velma
Hmm.
grew that much from episode 1 to episode 10. When I was like, oh, you're kind of the same person, and you're kind of horrible.
Okay.
I felt like she was kind of manipulative to people, and if that's how the character starts but gets better, that's fine. But I don't know that she experienced a lot of growth for me.
Okay. So what would you rate it? Because right now, if you go to IMDb, Velma is listed as now again, this is aggregated because people, popularity, it's negative 52. IMDb rating out of 10 is 1.5, and that's out of 69,000 people. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes, its score is a audience score is a 7%. The tomato meter is a 40%.
I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. Mystery
Okay.
Machines.
Okay.
Yeah, you.
Um, I liked it, but I'm gonna give it a 2.5 jinkies out of 5.
Okay, I thought you were going to
Yeah.
be higher than me.
No, I mean, I liked it. Here's the thing. I think I think in these conversations that I think what people need to understand is that two things are happening when we have these conversations about reviews. Do you like it is one conversation. Is it good is a different conversation,
Hmm.
because I can like something and understand it's bad. Suicide Squad.
Hmm.
I like that movie. Not the second one, James Gunn. The first one, David Ayer. The whatever cut you want to call it. I like that movie. It's not the best movie, but I still like it. See how I can say I know something isn't good, but I can still enjoy it. And I
Hmm.
think that's a problem in these conversations people don't have. People come on and they say, "Keyboard cat, it's trash," and it's like, is it trash or did you just not like it? And those are two separate conversations. And I think in this situation, that's the conversation we should have.
Hmm.
So now let's get the spoilers.
I mean, you didn't really give your overview thoughts at all.
Oh, I think I thought I did. I think
You
it.
just said I liked it,
I
but it
liked
was
it. I
bad.
think I I don't want to say it was bad. I'd say it was 2.5. I think it has a lot of room for growth. I think season 2 maybe has a lot of heavy lifting because they at the end of the season you didn't see, once you got the big reveals for everything, you didn't see the growth that you think you should. Now, I preface this by saying I don't know why y'all thought there was going to be growth, because we've had this conversation before. This is a Mindy Kaling show. The Mindy Project, she did not have growth.
Disagree. Strongly disagree with that.
Let me tell you why. Because if you go back and watch Mindy Project, and let's take Mindy Kaling's show, and this is why I say a lot of people forget this because they like Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling's show was on for how many seasons?
4 or 5, maybe. I don't know.
It was on for um, I want to say 6 seasons, but it might be five. Hold on, I'm trying to pull it up now because there's a season that I think everybody forgets, and this is why I say there was no growth in the sense of in her character. Do you remember the season with Ben?
Vaguely.
That's why you disagree with me because there was no growth for what she did to Ben. Because remember, for those people who would wonder what we're talking about, in the Mindy Project, she was in love with Chris Messina's character. Chris Messina and her were they would make up, break up, and then they had a child together. Then they broke up for real, and then he married somebody else, and then she married a nurse named Ben from New Jersey. And the only reason why she married him was because she saw his ex wife and because Chris Messina's character was married. And then they got divorced, and she was a shitty wife. And there was no growth in that whole season about how bad she was as a wife. Ben was a throwaway character we did not see in the final season. And there was nothing that showed remorse for what she did to that person. And there was not a lot of remorse for a lot of times when she did some of those things. And that's why I said a lot of when I realized what the show was, I was like, oh, this is just an animated version of the Mindy Project. Because at the end of the day, she got what she wanted in the Mindy Project. She got the man, and she
Hmm.
suffered no consequences for the way she lived her life in getting that man. So when you say growth, I say where was it? Because she was
I
just
don't feel
this.
like she was the same selfish person from episode one as she was in the show. I don't see that.
I really, she
Yeah,
literally married a man because of his ex-wife and because of her ex, and then destroyed his life, and then casted him away, and then the show never revisited that.
yeah, but I still don't agree with you.
You don't agree with me because you don't like the what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is it true? Did she not cast away a person that she professed to love, and were those not the reasons why she got married in the first place?
I don't remember the season, Leroy, so
That's
I don't
that,
know.
that's what I'm saying is I do, and what I'm saying is if you go back and watch, because we had this conversation when the season you were like, oh yeah, and you were like that was a shitty thing she did. Go back and watch the Ben season and remember and go look at how she treated him, how she tried to groom him to be this celebrity and all the things that she did that she wanted, but she
Hmm.
never looked at what he wanted. They were they were handbags. He was a person, but she didn't treat him like a person. She treated him in the Mindy Project the same way she treated Norville in this show.
Okay.
And that's why I said I don't know why people are upset. If you go back and watch both shows and you look at it, you say, "Oh, she's just allowed to be." And I don't want to say just her because I like both shows, and I don't want to say it's just her. But the one of the creators is Charlie Grandy, one of her favorite collabs. They were able to be more edgy than they were in the Mindy Project. If you remember, the Mindy Project was on Fox, and then it got canceled, and Hulu picked it up. And if
Hmm.
you remember the shift from Fox to Hulu, the jokes they were able to tell, they were able to push the envelope a little bit more. On HBO Max with this show, they were this is not even an envelope. These are boxes. These are
But
shipping containers.
even if it's the same premise as the Mindy Project, we can still expect her to do better.
I agree with you, but I agree with you that you can expect her to do better. What I'm saying is, I went in knowing she was not going to do better. And that's why, and I said from past shows that she was the main character. Now, if you go back and watch Never Have I Ever, there's a difference. Or the sex lives of, was it the
College
sex lives of
Girls.
college girls? I haven't watched Never Have I Ever, but I did watch the sex lives of college girls. So me and Katie watched that. That's a good show. And there is growth in that show, but she's not the central character. And
Is she
that's
in
the
that
difference.
show?
She is, I
Oh,
think.
I thought she just created it or whatever.
She created, but I think she like has a guest role. I can't remember because it's been a while since I watched it. And season two is out, and we haven't watched it together. And that's why I said there's a difference. She's the main character in both of those shows. In these shows, she's the creator and she's in the creative process, but she's not the main character. But there is a theme in all of her shows.
Okay.
So that's why I said I didn't expect much. I went into it knowing, oh, that's what
Oh, you froze. Are you coming back? Let's see what happens.
I froze. It didn't freeze on my end.
Yeah. Well.
Am I frozen?
No. Now you're not frozen anymore.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right, let's get to spoilers.
Okay. Where's my orange one? There's my
Now,
orange one that I like.
in honor of Black History Month, let me hit you with some Black
Oh
History
Lord
facts that has to do with
Jesus! I forgot
animation.
about this. I
Which
thought this was over.
it's not, because Black History Month ain't over. You know why? Because Black History is 365, baby. And I've got
I'm gonna eat my cheese and crackers.
how many cards come in this deck? I don't
Too
know.
many.
Anyway, which Harlem jazz singer is thought to have been the inspiration for the cartoon character Betty Boop? A. Billie Holiday, B. Lena Horne, C. Esther Jones, or D. Ethel Waters? That's not on here. Um,
That's number one.
Number one, Billie
Yeah.
Holiday. You were
Yeah.
incorrect. It is
Mm.
actually Esther Jones, and
Okay.
that is your Black History Month fact. And the only reason why I picked that one was because it was about animation. We're talking animation, so
Okay. Great.
it was relevant.
Yeah.
So
Regular
let's
reading rainbow over here. Love it.
so picking up off what you said, and the reason why I brought up the Mindy Project is because at the end of the show, I when we get this whole big reveal, they get the keys to the city, and I was like, they were fighting, they were arguing. I was like, okay, cool. That's season two had been announced, so I was like, okay, cool. Let's see where this goes. Um, I didn't expect much. Um, I thought there was so many opportunities for growth and so many opportunities for them to change, but then they never did. And I was like, so that's the kind of show we're getting. So, perfect example, Fred, when he read the book, trying to remember what the name of the book is now. Um, when he read the book and he was like all into, the
The
inner
inner
beauty,
beauty.
he didn't change. He just was still a douchebag. And Daphne was the one I thought was going to change. That was going to be like the glue. But
Hmm.
then even then, they reverted back and try and messed up her character in a sense. Same thing with Norville, where it was like you thought they were going to make that next leap. They never did. It was like they brought the jokes back and they brought the fickleness, the infighting, all that stuff. And I was just like, that's just what this is. So I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah. For me, I just wanted the change overall, and
Mhm.
I didn't like the fact that they kept trying to poke fun of the weird stuff in the Scooby universe, and like talking about Scooby and talking about the mystery van and talking about Jinkies, because I don't know. I feel like it was trying to be snarky about that kind of stuff, but also incorporate into the show. It's like I feel like you need to be one way or the other. Like if you're going to lean into that stuff, lean into that stuff, and then that's fine. Make your own stuff, but don't continue to hit all these tropes, or not tropes. Tropes is the wrong word. To hit all these things that were in the original Scooby Doo and act like they're garbage, but you continue to hit all these different like things that people liked about Scooby Doo.
See, and I guess my thing is, and I talked to a friend of the show, Anne, about this, and she said tried to watch it, and she said she watched the first episode and she realized, oh, this isn't for me, and she was like, I'm out, and she's like, oh no, she was like, okay, cool, and she was like, the part that she was mad about, and she's not one of the keyboard warriors who she was like, what bothered her was she wanted a show about Scooby Doo because she loved Scooby Doo. She grew up with it. And then she watched it and realized this wasn't the Scooby Doo show that she thought it was. And then realized it wasn't for her. And I
Hmm.
think that's the nuanced conversation that needs to be had. Are you mad because the show is bad? Or are you mad because the show isn't for you? And I think that's one of the things that people went in with preconceived notions, thinking they were going to build on some of the Scooby Doo hijinks and the base material, and then make it a little edgy. When they went the opposite direction, and they were like, and basically, you are right. They made fun of everything you guys went loved about Scooby Doo and the Mystery Game, and I think that's, to some people, that's a disservice. And I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I just feel like somebody liked it because it's the most watched show.
Did they like it or did they hate it and
I
watched it?
don't, but here's the thing. We really don't know. We like, perfect example. There's a loud minority that is like, Zack Snyder's Justice League is the blah, 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 and we know that's a loud minority.
Hmm.
We know that's not. We know the box office doesn't reflect that. We know the numbers don't the numbers of people who actually like it don't reflect that, because it wouldn't be on sale for 14.99. Like, they
Hmm.
would have went back to it. And I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, critically, it wasn't well received. So yeah, you have a bunch of people yelling that it's the greatest thing on the world. Does that mean it's the greatest thing on the world, or is it that a loud minority and a bot that we now know was a bot campaign? We now know that some of those people who were not real. Yes, there are some people who really like that movie. Do they outnumber the people who don't like it? I would say no. The
Hmm.
evidence tells us no. So what I say about Velma, the numbers bear out that it is one of the most watched. Hold on, I want to get exactly what it says. Um, uh, Despite all that, you can't argue the numbers. According to Deadline, it was HBO's Max most watched animated series debut ever. So keep in mind, ever, Harley Quinn, any of the DC stuff. What else do they got that's animated that they've premiered on their streaming service?
I don't know. I
Because
feel like the big thing was the Harley Quinn thing.
so this had more viewers than Harley Quinn, and so what I'm saying is it? Did everybody hate it, or is the people who liked it just quieter? And because it gets clicks, because how if you type in Velma hate it, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. There's a lot of people who will agree with you. But is that because that generates clicks for people's YouTube page, TikToks? Does that is because there's money in rage. There's money in getting people to sign on to what you agree with, to
Hmm.
that point of view. So I don't know. I'm not telling you that it is universally hated. I know that you can easily aggregate a movie because you don't like something. The perfect example is The Last of Us, the long, long goodbye. Is that the name of the episode? Um, the episode with Frank and Bill is the lowest rated episode on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hmm.
Yet, if you look at everybody who talks about it, it is the most critically acclaimed episode of the series so far. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's a nuanced conversation of, did you hate it, or is it just not for you? And did you hate it because it's not for you, or is it actually bad? And that those are two different conversations.
Yeah, for me, I don't think it accomplished its goal of being like, if you're going to go the opposite way, I don't feel like you get to. I feel like if you're going to go the opposite way, really go the opposite way, then don't lean on all the stuff about Scooby Doo personally.
See, and me personally, I don't see it. I look at those as, I don't want to say, they're not Easter eggs. What is it? Fan service? I guess that's what you
I
call it.
wouldn't call it fan service the way
Well,
they
see,
treated
the
it.
way, and I agree with you. The way they treated it wasn't fan service, but I don't know what to call it because they're not Easter eggs because they were baked into the show. We saw them when they ran through the house of mirrors or the doors, and then Fred was like, "We can't keep doing this," and or like when they had the mystery van. Then they had like a ghost. The only thing they didn't have was you meddling kids. Um,
I think they did.
you're right. I think they did say that one. Yeah,
Like maybe not that exact phrase, but I feel like it's
yeah,
something about meddling.
yeah.
Somebody said something. Yeah.
So That's why I gave it a 2.5 because like for while I was on my phone or while I was doing something else, I was entertained. It wasn't like the show to me was terrible because I went into it realizing this is Mandy Kalig's MO. Insular, nerdy girl who rages about the world around her while trying to fit in. And I think there were some things that I think that worked if they would have done a good job with it. I think
Hmm.
when the popular girls were like, you call yourself a feminist, but you rip us down every chance you get. And then she's like, I don't know how to be a woman. I felt like they could have built upon that part of the show. Like some things that they would bring up, it was like they brought them up and then they just
It's like,
disappeared.
to
Hmm.
me, it's almost like they wanted credit for doing it, but they didn't do
Hmm.
like the work behind. Like, oh, we had touched it. Now we're
Yep.
gonna move on to something else. Like,
Hmm.
well, no, go harder and do it.
But here's the thing: they did the same thing in the Mindy Project, and that's why I said I don't think. That's why I said in my opinion, I don't understand the backlash to a certain extent. I think part of what it is, the backlash is they didn't understand who Mindy Kaling was, and what she was going to do. And I think if it was any other, if they had just made this and said we were inspired by Scooby Doo, and it wasn't like called Velma, and it was just four teens, and they were the archetypes, kind of like what they did with uh, the Venture Brothers.
Hmm.
That's not
Johnny
Johnny
Quest.
Quest, but it is based on Johnny Quest.
Yeah,
Like it's literally based, like they've said, we took our inspiration from Johnny Quest. If they had done that, guarantee you this would be a whole different conversation we'd be having.
probably.
And so that's the way I look at it. There was a lot of points that I think that they could have gone a little further. Perfect example. Okay, the Mindy Project. Do you remember the episode where they called her out, where she called herself out for always dating white dudes and not dating Indian men?
Vaguely.
And here's the thing: they brought it up and then acted like it never happened, and she kept chasing white dudes. And so what I'm saying is, it's like that in all of her shows to a certain extent. And someone brought up a very good point when they said they it caused people to go back and look at um, Mindy Kaling's run and the characters that she makes and creates. Uh, um, Here it is. From BuzzFeed News, Velma has opened up a discourse about Mindy's long career of writing and performing a specific kind of Indian woman: dorky, self absorbed, insecure, obsessed with attaining the romantic validation of caustic white guys, and eager to fling herself, her family, her culture, and other cultures under the bus to get it. From Mindy Lahiri of the Mindy Project to Devi Vishwakumar of Never Have I Ever to Bella Malhotra of The Sex Lives of College Girls to Velma, Kendi's Indian protagonists tend to follow a similar pattern. Mindy, Devi, and Bella all fall for nerdy white dudes who started out as their rivals. Danny, a fellow doctor in Mindy's residency. Ben, Debbie's high achieving high school classmate. And Eric, the leader of the comedy group Bella wants to join. Velma, who makes fawning eyes at Fred Jones, the entitled heir to the father's fortune, is set up to do the same. Um, there's truth to that.
Hmm.
Um, if you remember, Danny wanted her fired how many times? And then they ended up together. It was that love hate relationship. And we loved it. We enjoyed it. But when you look at her career as a whole, and then there was, uh, I know you're not on Twitter like this, but someone brought it up on Twitter and said, if go back and look at where she spent her formative years. Um, Here it is: an initial tongue in cheek defense of K League's obsession with a specific type of white man offered this explanation. You have to remember, she spent her formative sexual years at Dartmouth over 20 years ago. That's all there was. New England changes people. The tweet, now viewed close to 9 million times, gets at one element of the controversy over Kaylin's work. Characters, Kaylin's characters have always been characters of herself. Um, I think that's very interesting. And here's another thing. and I'm not throwing her under the bus, I'm bringing up a very specific thing. Shonda Rhimes gets this same criticism, and all the black women in her shows ended up falling for white men. So, and they said, guess where she grew up or had her formative years? New England. So what I'm saying is, I think we went into this not understanding who Mindy was and her I don't want to say predilections because that's, but her
Preconceptions.
creates characters. And if you look at the Mindy Project and then you look at Velma, I don't see there isn't much difference. It's just I think maybe the Mindy Project is funnier.
Hmm.
But I think they do some of the same things. They make some of the same jokes. One of my favorite jokes is when Fortune Feimster and uh, what's her brother's name? I love him. Um, Ge- uh, uh, Delahunt. What is his name?
Garrett.
Delahunt. I love him. When they were from the South, and he was like, "We decided to move here, to Boston, where the racism is more quaint," and it was I love those jokes. They're hilarious, but I think the way that they told them in the Mindy Project were a little more nuanced. Where in Velma, they just beat you over the head with it with a mag light.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one thing for me is you kind of touched on in the fact that we've seen in the past that she can do those jokes with have a subtler touch and
Mhm.
not beat you over the head. So I was kind of hoping I would see that here. It's like because you've done it in the past, but you just chose not to do it here for some reason. I don't know. Um,
Here's another thing too. Let's look at who actually helped write that show. Hold on a second. So Mindy Lahiri is the main character. Um, if you go back and look, she is the creator of this show. But if you go back and look at Velma, the difference is the creator is Charlie Grandy, and he's listed as the creator. So I wonder though how much creative control she had over this show and the writing versus a Mindy project, where some of the characters are similar, but the writing is different. And a lot of people brought up, well, how much control and how much time did she spend in the writers' room? Because we could look. Perfect example is let's go back and look at Rick and Morty. Um, Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon are the two creators of that show. Now we found out subsequently after Justin Roiland has been dismissed from the show, the last couple of years he wasn't very involved in the writing process. He just voiced the characters.
mhm.
He wasn't in the writers' room, according to reports. He didn't get along with the writers, and there were things that he wanted to do. They were just like, pay no attention to him. We're going to do what we're going to do anyway. So I question how much because she's the one getting the backlash for this show because she's the most famous person and the name behind this show. But how much control and how much writing did she do on this show versus some of her other properties?
Yeah. So to wrap up, what are your thoughts to wrap up?
I love the cast. I thought I enjoyed the cast. Um, like if you like, let's look at the cast list: Mindy Kaling, Glenn Howerton, Sam Richardson, Constance Wu, Jane Lynch, Wanda Sykes, Russell Peters, Fortune Feimster, Yvonne Orji, Nicole Byer, Gary Cole, uh, Carrie Walgren, Frank Welker. Like this cast is very accomplished. I really love this cast,
Hmm.
and I do want to see them. I actually want to see a season two. I'm hoping that some of the things that we talked about, they do a better job of tightening it up, and we do see them. Will they? Won't they? It was almost like hopscotch. Huh. They would jump in, 1 foot in, and they would because
You broke up again, so I don't know who you're which couple you're talking about.
not couple. I'm just saying the whole group. Like there
Oh,
was.
okay,
Remember that time when they were in the when they were like, it's her fault. It's her fault. It's her fault, and
they were in the crate
they
or whatever.
yeah they were in the crater, and it was like that was a perfect opportunity for them to bond. Or fog bog night or whatever that was. There's a perfect, like, there were so many chances that you thought they were going to bond when Daphne found out who her parents were and she was trying to get the Velma, or when, and I I I hate that we keep calling him Norville, and I'm like, when are we going to call him Shaggy? But it's, there were these moments right there. There's like, they were right there, and I really want like a creators panel where they say we didn't want to them to be good people. We wanted you to hate them. We wanted to turn this on its head, and I want to know why and if that's true, because you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're
Hmm.
not good people.
Correct.
They're the worst,
Hmm.
but we love them and they're
Hmm.
funny.
Hmm.
Um, so what? So that's what I'm saying. What's the difference? Why is it that we don't care that they don't evolve as good people when it's in Always Sunny, or we don't care that they don't evolve as good people in Rick and Morty, but we care that they evolve as good people? Is it because it's based on Scooby Doo and we want them to see that? And they're like, they're never going to be these people you want them to be.
Hmm.
So that's what I want more clarification, because I think if we get that in a season two, then maybe that will not stem the tide of the hate, but maybe give a little bit more explanation.
And with that, like, comment, subscribe.
Hey, and not just like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell where it says all notifications. So not just relevant, all, because I be posting stuff, man, and I'm like, these are some good questions I be putting in the community. Like, where y'all at, man? I be putting some. I be putting in some grade A shit in there, and I be getting a
Great.
handful of people like click, maybe, I don't know.
Who
So
knows, man? We got to figure out the algorithms. In the meantime, though, follow us. We try on YouTube, Facebook.
hold on, are you gonna watch a season two? Because you were like,
Yeah, I watch a bunch of shit that I don't care about
damn,
because it's like you said, I can just put it on in the background.
yeah, true, okay.
It's a good way to pass the time. Yeah, I watch
Mhm.
it again. I don't hate the show. I'm just kind of like,
Yeah,
I think Mandy can do better. So
or
maybe in
Charlie
season two, do
Grandy,
better.
or Charlie Grandy do better,
Yeah.
because again, he is the creator, showrunner.
Follow us. We try on y'all Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. I think that's it for all this stuff. We'll be back with more stuff later. We out. Peace.
Peace.